Hi everyone. Today I'm going to do something a bit different. I'm going to do more of a talky video. Not that I don't talk usually, but I won't talk about what I'm doing in the video, but just talk about general life lessons that I've learned and that I am learning currently by pursuing drawing and painting. And I think they apply to a lot of areas in life. It's not just art, but any new hobby or new profession or calling that you're following. For some reason, I don't know, sometimes I think I pressed the record button, but obviously I didn't. So obviously that day I was a bit scatterbrained and I lost some footage, and I was also a bit annoyed by the small format of my Hanemühle watercolor notebook that you can see here, because it doesn't quite lay flat, and so I had to hold it down and things didn't turn out the way I wanted them to, but I thought I'd still use the process of me trying to tackle and figure out watercolor, and at the same time share with you some of the things that I've been thinking about lately. And I am no authority on anything, actually. I just think that a lot of people go through similar stages, and I would love to hear if somebody else has or had those thoughts as well when learning to draw or paint. So yeah, let's just get to it. The first lesson I learned, and these are not in any particular order because they're probably all equally important, is that practice does not make perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect. And I heard this quote years ago when it came to dance. I did belly dance for quite a few years, and that's where I heard it the first time. And it makes so much sense, and it also applies so well to the art world, because drawing and painting take time. But in the end, it doesn't matter how much time you spend. If you're constantly doing the same thing and not improving, then that time is not really spent well. Like, it's not quality time that you spend with your passion or hobby, or however you may view it. It's important that you don't just draw all the time. First of all, drawing too much can lead to some sort of fatigue, that you're very, very excited about something for a while, and then you just notice that you've neglected everything else and you'll stop. And second of all, and most importantly, it's important to reflect, like not just to do something, but to take an honest look at what you've done and determine where your strong suits are and where your mistakes are, and learn from them and actually apply the results. Like, it doesn't help if I realize that my mixing of colors just gives me muddy colors all the time when I don't want them, but I keep doing the same thing. I have to and sometimes it really helps to write things down. I feel that a lot of artistically inclined people actually write a lot, and I think it has something to do with that whole documentation and learning process, because we just tend to forget so much that it really helps to write down things, and because most artistic people have a habit, or at least should have the habit, of carrying a sketchbook. And everybody who's been wondering what should I draw or paint has probably resorted to their sketchbook, or at least knows in theory that writing down ideas is essential, because you are going to forget about them no matter how many vivid dreams you have at night. If you don't write things down, they're probably going to be gone, and that's kind of sad. So I think many artists are actually inclined to journaling and writing down their journey. And if you're not doing that, I would personally highly recommend that, because first of all, it's interesting to see your progress, and really just important to look back and see, oh, that's how I did that then, and just be more aware of what has changed or not changed, so you can't change it. And that actually leads me to the next point. But before I do that, many artists have read and followed Julia Cameron's The Artist's Way. Is that the name of, oh god, is that the name of the book? I think it was The Artist's Way, where she talks about the importance of writing first thing in the morning, like getting all your thoughts on paper. And I did that for a while, and it was great self-reflection. But it just goes to show that even if you don't do that all your life, journaling will help you as an artist, help you evolve, really, and get better, if that's your goal. The next point this leads me to, speaking of documentation and improving over time and taking a look at your old sketchbooks, is that you never stop learning in life. And this really applies to everything. No matter how many educations or schools you've visited and had, no matter your title or your age, life is an ongoing learning process. And that's honestly the fun thing about life, right? I love learning new things. And the same goes for art. I feel that there's this probably overused saying or quote that the magic happens outside of your comfort zone. And I feel that's so true in every aspect, because like when we take art for an example, you'll find many people who practice one sort of, I'll call it style, although it may not be a style in reality. And they will just do that for years and do nothing else. And sometimes it may be a style, but a style usually evolves after many years and just evolves organically and is not easy to achieve. But you'll see many beginners talking about having a style, because, I mean, you do want to be, different, right? You want to be special, I believe, in the art world. So you'll try to strive for a style, but many will just say, oh, that's my style, because they're maybe a bit lazy to change something. It could be a mistake, and they're not willing to learn. And then they'll just say, that's my style. That's how I do things, and that's why I don't have to change anything. And I mean, it's everybody's own decision. That's okay if they want to do that. But if your goal is really to improve and to keep learning, you have to be honest with yourself and just do some very rational observing and try and learn. And that also leads me to my next point. Honesty is the best policy. And the most important kind of honesty is the one that you have with yourself. This also takes me back to the time where I danced a lot, and I did belly dance back then. And it was a huge source of joy to me. I felt great. Like, I mean, most exercise and physical activity will make you feel good. But it really helped me through a tough patch in my life, and it meant a lot to me. And I used to emphasize that a lot, like in courses, like, this means so much to me, this means so much to me. But I had to be honest with myself that even though it meant much to me, I wasn't good enough to pursue it as a career. I could give a beginner's lesson in belly dance maybe, but I could not compare myself to people who've been doing it much longer. And I think it's important with all that talk about self-confidence and being true to yourself and all of that. That's great. I mean, you have to be courageous. You have to believe in yourself sometimes and just do it. But you also have to be very rational and just see where you are and accept that many people are much better than you. And I don't mean that as a demotivation. When I see people who are much, much, much better than I am or ever will be, maybe it's that I'm a bit older now, but I actually get inspiration from that. Like, it doesn't make me want to stick my head in the, as we say in German, stick my head in the ground. I don't even, or in the soil. I don't even know if you say that in English, but it's supposed to mean that I give up because these people are so talented and I could never keep up with that. To me, it's more like, wow, that's those are my heroes. Like, this is possible, and this could be the thing that I am working on. Whether I reach that goal or not, I don't know, but it's fun to challenge myself, right? And that's a very important mindset to just have. The willingness to learn and the willingness to challenge yourself and do things that are difficult for you. Because otherwise, you're just going to be in your comfort zone and you're not going to improve. And I mean, if you don't really have any specific goals in that area and you just want to do something for fun and relaxation, you can always do the same thing. There's nothing wrong with that. And your hobby can still mean a lot to you. It probably won't mean a lot to the world that it means a lot to you, but that's totally legitimate. I'm just talking about those who really want to get somewhere and maybe even make money in the long run from what they do. You have to keep an open mind and learn. And maybe even learn from the best, even though it drives you crazy at first because you have no idea how you're ever going to get there. And since we're talking about this particular issue, I feel that it saved me a lot of stress to determine where my priorities were. Like, when I realized that dancing is a hobby and it made me happy, but I was not going to be a professional, that was kind of a relief because it took out a lot of pressure. As for artsy things, I am more the kind of person who wants to get better and who I want it to be the thing that I do. I don't want it to be the thing that I do in the evening to relax from what I've been doing for the majority of the day, but I want it to be the thing that I do for the majority of the day, and then I'll find something else to relax. So that's important to distinguish. Like, what is this thing to you, your passion? Is it your hobby? Do you do it to unwind? I mean, art will always be therapeutic. Actually, not always, but art in nature, in its own nature, is therapeutic, but when it turns to work, it can become a stressor. Especially when you're being paid for what you do. You have to realize that it's not always a source of joy. I mean, there's a reason why many artists struggle and why we're anxious when we see a white page or white canvas, because there are a lot of expectations connected to that. So sometimes it can be a relief to say, you know what, I'm doing this for myself. I don't care what everybody else thinks. I don't care if anybody's going to pay me for this. This is just to make me feel good. And that's fine. On the other hand, if you want to be more professional with what you do, then you need a different mindset. You can't always wait for inspiration. You can't always wait for that good feeling. You just need a little bit of discipline, actually. You need organization and time management. And those are things that we don't necessarily associate with artists because we think that they're like all crazy and disorganized, but they're very, very important. And most successful artists are masters at managing their time. And that brings me to the subject of school. Is it important to go to school? Is it necessary to go to school? It's probably not necessary, but it will help. I personally went to design school, so I did not go to illustration school or anything like that, even though a good portion of my studying was drawing. But I feel that what it taught me was not necessarily techniques, how to paint and draw, how to improve, but a mindset. First of all, you learn to see the difference between good design and bad design, or good art and bad art, and then you get in that working mode, because that's the point where art or creativity is going to be your work, and where you learn to discipline yourself and take it seriously. So I would advise going to school. I wish I could go to illustration, or actually, I'm not even sure I want to go to art school, because some of the things that are taught there are a little bit out there. Like, I don't necessarily want to look at things that, I don't know, a chimpanzee could have made and analyze them. I'm sorry. I mean, I don't know how to express this, but the things that you learn in art school aren't always what gets you further. So just determine what exactly you want to be and what you want to do, and whether you want to do it for fun or for professionalism, and then make your decisions based on that. At least that's what I would recommend, just to save yourself a lot of heartache in the long run. So, is it a calling, or is it something to have fun with? Are you also the type of person who's willing to make sacrifices? Are you a bit extroverted and you always need people around and a lot of distraction? Or can you sit indoors for long extended periods of time just with your pencils and paints and spend time with art? Are you somebody who's an autodidact, meaning can you teach yourself stuff? Do you always need someone to teach you? Or do you go on YouTube and look at tutorials and follow them? Are you willing to learn a new program on your own? How long does it take you to learn that program? Those are just, nothing is good or bad, just things to consider for you to determine how to move on from here. Whether you need a teacher. I mean, everybody, I think, would love an art mentor, but they're very hard to come by because, you know, most people don't have that much free time on their hands. But since it's very hard to come by an art mentor, then school may be the next best thing to do. And actually, in the future, I may go kind of back to school, even if it means that I just take online courses. But that's important, just to keep your knowledge fresh. And if you compare it to other occupations like medicine and things like that, everybody keeps learning all their life, and so should you. Speaking of other professions, I watched a video by Ergo Josh the other day, and he compared sports, music, and art to each other. And the thing is that we all grow up doing, was it him or was it Lowish? I'm not even sure, but we all grow up doing sports, music, and art. Most of us, at least, do at least two of those things, right? But it's very, very hard to become a professional athlete, sorry, or to become a professional musician. But there are many people who will call themselves artists, and they don't think that it's necessary to go through any type of education, or if it's not education, then a very productive self-made curriculum, if I can call it that. Like, people don't realize that work goes into it. It's not just a talent that you're given, but a lot of work goes into it, and you should be aware whether you're willing to put in the work or not. Are you willing to maybe say to your friend, you know, I really have to work on this today, I cannot meet you for coffee. Are you willing to sacrifice some of those things in order to practice your art? Sometimes it's even big decisions like buying a house or not, having a child or not, having a garden or not, to enable you to use that time for your passion. So it takes sacrifice, and not everything comes easily. And I think it's very, very important that everybody knows this before they dive into it, because otherwise they will be disappointed in the end. And I think it's also important at the same time not to encourage that cliche of the starving artists, because even though it may be hard to earn money or become rich with artistic endeavors, it's not impossible. And especially today, we have so many ways of making money as an artist that I feel people who say, oh, I'm an artist, I have to be poor, are just making excuses, really. I'm not saying it's easy, and I'm not saying you're going to make a lot or it's going to happen quickly for you. But I feel that there are ways to work on that if that's your goal. And I don't think it's very healthy to propagate that kind of mindset, because it kills appreciation for artists. Everybody starts to think, oh, can you do a portrait of me? Of course, you'll do it for free in your free time because it's not worth any of my money, I guess. That's what some people at least think, that we're doing this for fun and it's so therapeutic to us and so nice that we will spend our time drawing and painting things for them for free. And I don't think that's a very healthy way to think about artistic fields, because we need art in our lives. We need theater and we need movies, and we may survive without them. Like, if you give me food and water, I'll survive. But in my opinion, they're what makes life worthwhile, and they should be appreciated. So if somebody's not willing to show appreciation for what you do by actually paying you for it, then you have to stop and think, am I underpricing myself? Am I selling myself for free? Or maybe am I at a level where I'm not good enough yet to be appreciated? Do I have to work on my skills more until people are willing to pay me? But it could be that you're just not, you don't think you have the right to ask for a certain amount for what you do, because it's so underappreciated in our culture. I mean, people like consuming stuff, and they like looking at stuff, but most of the time they don't really want to pay for it. So why would they pay for popcorn, and why would they pay for a TV series and not pay for something you've painted and you've drawn? And I think it should be normal to pay artists just as you would pay anybody else. And also, if somebody offers you to be featured somewhere, that ties into the financial aspect of getting paid. If somebody offers you to be featured somewhere or to give you exposure, and that's all the payment they're going to give you, don't do it. It's not worth it. They should appreciate you so much that they will pay you at least a little bit for your effort. And be especially aware when it includes them being able to do with your art what they want. Like, don't give away your copyright and things like that, your license, really, if you're not getting paid for it, just because somebody is promising you exposure and that you're going to be famous through them, because most of the time it's not going to be worth it. Know your self-worth. The other thing I've learned is that it's super important to not take things personally. Like, don't make art your whole life. Don't tie it so much to your identity that once you get criticized, you will crumble and die. Don't make it your everything. Strive for balance. First of all, doing other things will give you inspiration for your art. And second of all, if it's too important for you, if it's all your source of joy, like the only thing you do for your self-confidence and your enjoyment and all of that, you will probably react more sensitively to critique. And you will also stay in that comfort zone that we talked about because you want to have those great feelings, right? You're dependent on the good feelings you get from your art and maybe from the praise that you get from your art. Like if you're successful and you get a lot of praise, or maybe in the online world you get a lot of likes for what you do, then you may stick to that thing that you know just to keep getting those likes, because you will be very disappointed if maybe you change your style or your direction and suddenly people don't like your stuff anymore. So don't make your ego part of it. Just look at it very rationally, and honestly, nobody's going to care about your feelings in the end. I'm sorry to break it to you in such an honest way, but in the end, working is all about service. It's what you can give others. And again, I'm talking about people who are viewing art as something a bit more professional and very important that takes up a lot of their time. I'm not talking about the person that has a day job and then in the evening does something for 30 minutes to relax, because that's something else. But in the end, people will not appreciate what you do unless it gives them value, right? It doesn't matter if that value is tangible or if it's just that they feel better when they see your stuff. But that's also something to keep in mind when you create things. How is anybody going to benefit from it? Don't talk about what you feel. I mean, you can talk about what you feel while you draw and paint something, but what matters is what the other person feels, right? Also, if you see yourself putting a lot of fluffy captions under your work, like, I don't know, we all know those people who post selfies and then they put like a really meaningful quote underneath. Doesn't it make you think like, okay, you have a pretty face or pretty hair or a nice butt or whatever, but why do you feel the need to put like a really meaningful and philosophical quote underneath that has nothing to do with your picture, like to give it meaning? Sorry, I mean, there's nothing wrong with showing off. I mean, you can do that, but just name things for what they are. Like, you don't have to pretend that there's some higher whatever meaning for them. I guess the same goes for art. If you really have to talk a lot about it and explain your feelings and things like that, then maybe think about the possibility that it's not expressing that sufficiently on its own. It should speak for itself. You shouldn't have to invent a backstory for it, you know? It doesn't matter if this painting saved your life. In the end, that's not going to be your reason to pay for it either. What matters is what can somebody else get out of it, and that's a healthy thing to have, I think, in all professions, no matter what you do, that it's not about you, and we are not special snowflakes. I mean, I know that our kindergarten teachers and our parents, when we were 5 years old and we drew stick figures, they all said that what we did was great, but I mean, that's also connected to that whole art is easy kind of mentality, or art is a talent instead of a skill or something to work on. But just, yeah, I think it's healthy to not take things personal and just be very professional and look at your stuff objectively and see your mistakes and work on those. And mistakes are the best teacher, really. Making mistakes is the one thing that will get you further. Like, you won't learn from making perfect things all the time. It's important to practice perfectly in the sense of being aware of what you're practicing, especially the fundamentals like perspective anatomy and things like that. But it doesn't mean that the result has to be perfect. Actually, it's normal, and this is actually something I heard from Ergo Josh the other day. It's normal for artists to only like 10% of their work. And I actually think I would go further and say every artist should only like 10% of their work. Because if they like everything they do, they'll always do the same thing, right? And no matter how great it is, it'll be boring at some point. So if you've ever gone to design school or art school, because for design school you also have to prepare an art portfolio, everyone will tell you that don't put all your work in there. Like, don't just cram everything in. Just have a selection of your best, 10, 15 works, and they should speak for your work, because the worst painting will ruin everything else. And nobody makes only great stuff. We all make bad things, and we make good things, and some things in between. So accept that and embrace that most of the things that you're going to make are not going to be to your liking. And that's totally healthy, because that gives you something to work on. And I think that's actually a very positive attitude. I know everybody tends to tell me, oh, don't be so harsh and don't be so hard on yourself. But I don't think I am being hard on myself when I don't like my work. I think I'm being honest with myself, and it's a very positive thing for me, because it keeps me going. It's important to have goals. So if I have the goal to be better at watercolor and to master this and that technique, or draw perfect bodies from imagination, then that's fun. I mean, the journey is fun. The things that we look forward to are mostly those that lie in the future. When I'm already there, I don't enjoy it as much. It's just like going on vacation. Like, all year you look forward, or maybe for 6 months you look forward to that vacation, and that's sometimes even the best part. And then you're there and it's not that great anymore. And then when you come back home, you have the memories. So the actual result will not be as impressive once you're there, but the looking forward to it, I feel Vorfreude, it's called in German, like, would I translate, like pre-enjoyment? That's not a very good translation, but that's the most important part, and that's why I feel that improving my skills is actually something I enjoy. And it's not that I'm beating myself up or anything. For those of you who are on social media, like me, who has just joined social media a very short while ago, like I'm not experienced anything online because I joined the club very late. But since you're all watching this video, I think you may have more to do with social media. And I would also like to point out that likes are not what is going to get you to the next level. Likes are nice to have, especially if one day you plan on making money with your YouTube or your art or whatever, and they're important to work towards. If you want to like market and advertise for your stuff, but they're not what's going to improve your skills. What's going to improve your skills is the critique you get from experienced people. So just that also ties into the subject of ego, but just grow a thicker skin and realize that constructive criticism is here to help you. It's not here to make you sad or make you depressed or make you give up. It's here to make you a better artist, and it's very, very rare to get honest critique from somebody who actually knows what they're talking about. So if you get it, be grateful for that. And the last thing and the most important thing to me, and this is very personal for me because I am not that young anymore. I'm 39 years old, and I did not pursue art for a very long time because, everybody told me to do the practical thing and make money the easy way. So what I need to keep telling myself is that it's never too late. It's never too late to start. And looking back, I think that if I had started at 29 or gotten back into art more seriously at 29 than at 39, then that's 10 years that I could have improved dramatically. And the same thing goes for my age now, and the same thing will go for 50 and 60-year-olds. No matter where you are in life, the time that you invest now will make you a better artist. So would you rather be 50 or 60 or 70 or 80 and not have that time to practice and to improve? Or do you want to get older anyway, but at the same time live the life that you want? It's not too late. And trust me, I've looked back at things I did when I was younger. And even though I haven't practiced art that much, just being an older individual with life experience and with a lot of other hobbies and interests has helped my art a lot. I'm not saying that you shouldn't practice, because you need to practice and you need to improve and you need to put in the time and the effort. But growing older will automatically train your eye. That's also something that you learn in school to have your eye trained. But the more you look at stuff, you will also be a better judge of what's good and what's not so good. And that's why we look at our childhood or teenage works and think, ugh, what was that? What was I thinking then? Even though maybe our skill hasn't improved that much. But you don't have to be an expert at something to judge it. I don't have to be like a pilot to tell if a plane crashed. I don't have to be great at something to see whether someone else is great at something or not. So I can judge for myself and just try to live up to my current standards. So being a bit older is not a bad thing in my opinion. It can even give you a lot to draw from. Like in dance, they also say that, at least in belly dance, they say that a 30-year-old, or somebody under 30 will not be as good a dancer as somebody over 30 because they have nothing to talk about, because it's an art form, and in the end you're trying to express feelings and to convey emotions and maybe tell a story and things like that, and you simply have more to tell when you're a bit older than when you're younger. So don't beat yourself up. It's hard, it takes discipline, it takes time management and effort, but stick with it and you'll be proud of yourself in the end. I think that's all I have for today. Like I said, I'm no authority or expert on anything. This is just what I learn every day, really, and what I try to remind myself of. And I'm hoping that this actually motivates you and shows you that you're not the only one, and that it's okay to struggle and to find art hard sometimes and to find it difficult. And that's part of why it's so special, right? If it were easy, then you wouldn't really be proud of what you did. So just keep drawing and keep painting, and I will see you hopefully in the next episode. Thank you so much for listening to my babbling here. I really appreciate it, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye-bye, take care.